saw a question somewhere where somebody was asking why it is that those that have money in our community basically perhaps don't get the recognition that they deserve. And so the only way to feel like they have arrived is to build skyscrapers, even in areas that there are so many skyscrapers. One of the mentioned was a mall in just about every center in Nairobi. We don't need that many, some are empty. And then there are those that, for instance, Upper Hill is full of skyscrapers. I'm not sure that all of them are full. And Westlands is full of property that I'm sure will not be filled up in the next several years. What's your take? What drives us to put money in such projects that we know from the outset will not be bringing back the commensurate return?
First of all, I don't buy that causal link that people aren't recognized, and therefore the only way to be recognized is to put up some shiny building with your name on it. First, let me make some trenchant comments. Number one, a lot of Kenyans with money they didn't make it. They didn't go out there and build businesses and in industries. They stole it. So when you steal money, your instinct first of all is to hoard it. It could go away. Number two, you want to put it in the safest possible investment that you know. Because you aren't an entrepreneur and you never really took risks, what you do is you put it into property. Because in our minds, and it is true, property is there, it's solid. I'm sitting in one, so are you. So that makes a lot of sense. The property is there, it won't go away. It will end. It'll give me income and so on and so on and so forth. Now, of course, by the way, I'm making general trenchant comments, not comments about anybody, but you asked a question and I'm giving you an answer. Number three, Nairobi is to Eastern Africa, widely defined, what Miami is to Latin America, Central and Latin America. Those of you who've been to Miami will know that Miami is the destination of capital flight from Latin America, either capital flight because people are scared of leaving their money in their home countries, or capital flight because it's drug money or other crime money. Doesn't matter. So is Nairobi. Lots and lots of money comes here, which has to find a home somewhere. That is part of the price we pay for being an open place where the region sees us as a place that they can usefully invest their money. And finally, even people with money, what genuine opportunities are they being given? If you look at the families which invested in Equity Bank, they have done well, but they had to take a very long-term view. They lost all their money when Equity Society, or whatever it was called, the Building Society, went under, and they patiently built the institution up from where it was to where it is today. How many of you remember a tiny company called British American, which today is a giant here? So how many of our people with money even have those ideas and know what it'll take in terms of time and money and focus and patience and so on and so forth to build an industry? Now, going back to the earlier question, maybe they say there are too many regulations and I'm not going to do it. I have a very good friend called Kimani Rugendo, a politician turned a businessman. And he started small. Today, you all go to Carrefour and you buy pick and peel.
Yes, the juice.
That is him, and other things. He's become a serious player. He's got people wanting to invest in him from all over the world because he has been patient and he has built a business. So I don't believe that those people who want to build a business and have time cannot build a business. The Vimal Shah, I think, keeps saying, when he writes about his family story, how he came up from, I think it was a textile company, using a seed oil to what they are today. So I'm sorry, I don't buy that. I don't see that causality. What I see is that we need proper capitalism here.
That actually answers my question, because what you've effectively said is that people that haven't worked for the money and build a business from ground up then are not even equipped to invest in many other businesses. So they go to the safest area they can find. So as we get close to wrapping up, somebody is asking, what advice would you give to a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, all the way to 65, as you advance business-wise? What nuggets of wisdom would you give?
Gosh, I am completely the wrong person to ask that question. I really haven't thought about it because I have been like a bloody hedgehog trying to survive through life. I wish I was 20. I think we are on the verge of an extremely exciting time. I spent the weekend in the company of a man called Andrew Forrest. Andrew Forrest is one of the richest men in the world. He's a billionaire several times over. He's the biggest exporter of iron ore to China. He's got a mine, owns mining assets, railways, ports, ships, you name it, in Australia. But he's leading a revolution to use green hydrogen to replace oil and gas. And he was giving lots of talk to the two young men who came with us. And that talk was really captivated me too, because I think we are on the verge of some explosive growth in alternative energy solutions. We are on the verge, and again, this is with a nod to Michael Hopkins, we are on the verge of going back to rail, or making rail and other forms of that sort of public transport really work. We are on the verge in Kenya of turning Lake Victoria into a busy hive of activity, turning the Western Indian Ocean, which we border, into an extremely busy hive of activity. I wish I was at 20. As for 30 and 40 and 50, I've only come from those things, so I really don't have I don't have much advice to give in that regard, but I truly wish I was 20 or 30.
Then what book has carried you in life? What one book would you? And again,
I thought I answered that question when I was interviewed by Business Daily, but let me attempt to answer that question again. I didn't say one book, I said 3 books. The first book was by a banker, now long dead, but the pioneer of modern investment banking. He was called Sir Sigmund Warburg. Came from a very, very high-up family in Germany, Jewish, fled Germany at the rise of Hitler, and came to London and used his connections to start a bank from scratch. And within a couple of decades, it was the top London merchant bank. He believed, and I believe, that banking and finance are not dishonorable professions. They are very honorable. They are arts in themselves. You can do things. I have tried to live that in my banking. We have supported the growth. I feel as responsible as Michael Joseph for the growth of Safaricom, because all the money they raised the Vodafone only ever put in $20 million to buy their share in Safaricom, and everything else was raised here. And I'm very, very, very proud of raising that money, of encouraging the generation and deployment of local capital to finance a myriad of things. I keep telling people that in my career at Stanbic, and my second stint at Citibank, we raised just about $8 billion for funding Kenyan businesses in debt and equity. That's a serious amount of money, and it came from here. And the inspiration for me to do that was Sigmund Warburg. The other two books that I cited in that interview, one was a book called The Best and the Brightest, which was a major study of how incredibly clever people who came into office before and then with President John Kennedy led America into the Vietnam disaster, and how clever people can make absolute fools of themselves, except that those clever people tend to occupy a high office and therefore drag everybody else along with them into king-sized disasters. It was my, shall we say, it was my inspiration to practice some humility, much as I believe, much as I suspect you don't believe I am, but I am actually. And the third one was John le Carré, who wrote many spy novels, but unlike many other spy novels, his novels were complex. His characters were ambiguous. They were never black and white. Their causes were equally ambiguous. You could find right and wrong in virtually all sides. And that taught me very much to be tolerant of people, that people are complex, that even thieves have mothers, that people have very complex motivations for what they do, and that's why also I'm not too surprised at the devilry that human beings get up to.
Oh, wow. Yeah, one of those books actually I got from you, so thank you very much. And I have read it. Maybe it's time to go read it again, The Best and the Brightest. Anne, do you have any last questions that John will answer before we let him go?
Yes, there are different questions, but I think there was one that I think you should answer, because we've been talking really about business and you've given us really good insights. But one of the questions we have, the last question we have, is really, what are your hobbies? You're always working, you're in business, you're in public sector. What are your hobbies? How do we balance life? And how do you do it?
There is a belief that, you know, you are not a rounded character if you don't play golf or this, that, the other. My hobby is people. My hobby is observing people and societies. My hobby is trying to see how things can be put together, how things interact, and how they can be changed. We are a very young country, young continent. We are a continent that adopting, and I'm not criticizing anybody else who does that, but adopting the mores of more advanced societies, of long weekends, of long holidays, of the other things that people do. I sit back and say, why? Why should I do that? If I want to relax, I will take a book, I will read, I will watch a sport match, I haven't played golf for 22 years, maybe it's time I took it up again. But I am not driven to being one of the boys, so it doesn't really matter to me. I like to study people. I like to imagine, and envisage and visualize what Africa could be like in 10, 20 years. I'm really consumed by that. So I am afraid the word hobby is not one that really comes into my vocabulary.
And so what would you say then looking forward as we wrap this up? Politics is coming up, elections coming up, and then we have to compound all of that, we have COVID. Are you hopeful? Are you optimistic? And I know, like this whole show, this whole session, you've been optimistic, but can I ask for some, I don't know, real outlook, yeah, something that, even if you're hopeful, what can we expect as challenges in the business scene and perhaps ways to deal with it so that we don't go crazy or give up altogether?
I am not a seer, but I like to take my optimism from where we've come from. I have been operating at the nexus of public and private sectors, finance and business at high levels for a very long time. And we've been in dreadful sights. I remember in 2001, when we were flat broke, and a friend of mine, James Umrigo, and I went to the then governor central bank and said, look, we have no aid, interest rates are going to the dogs, government can't fund itself, we can't afford another Goldenberg. The only source of money we have are Kenyan people, and the only way we can do it is by putting together an instrument that will attract them to invest in the government. And that was born the very successful, still going very strong treasury bond program. This country has suffered from rinderpest, devastating drought, political upheaval, so on and so on and so forth. Each generation likes to think that it is going through a unique period, unique circumstances. It's not. Everything you have described, we have had in the past. I was telling the same KEPSA group today that in 2001, when we set out to raise 4 billion shillings for Safaricom to roll out its infrastructure, a company that only had 16,000 subscribers at the time, it took us 6 months to overcome enormous disbelief that Africans could ever buy mobiles, that mobile telephony had any future. The economy was flat on its back. IMF and World Bank and others have gone on strike, one giving us any money. We are in real dire straits. And look where we are today insofar as mobile telephony and Safaricom are concerned. We have challenges. Our politics are, boy, a work of art. They are incredible. But there are very few African countries also who can claim to have crafted, with a little help from foreign friends, the kind of settlement that we crafted in 2008. We should have confidence that we are able to come up with a political solution that leaves us to go off and do things. And by the way, we make lots of noise. My friends, many of my expatriate friends, get hooked onto Kenyan politics so much so that even when they leave, they permanently read our headlines, which change from day to day and which jump from one scandal or fight or theft or something to the other every single day. Really entertaining, lots and lots of noise. But I think we all know that it will really be sometime next year before the outlines of what is to come comes. Our economy has been has been on its back. COVID has really hurt us badly. But it is not an economy thanks to the private sector, especially. It is not an economy, or rather, let me put it in a positive way. It is an economy that has shown resilience in the past. Yes, this particular animal seems to have more and more burdens laid onto it, but I think that with a bit more guile and craft, we will be able to lighten that load and let the private sector flourish. I have enormous hopes in the young, not because of that hackneyed phrase that they are the future leaders. We used to be told that when I was a child in the 60s and 70s, and that hackneyed phrase will never stop being told, but because I have seen what they have done and what they have achieved and what they can do and what they can achieve. You are challenging me with the questions that you have today, and I know there are many others, is proof enough that we have the basis and the material for an inquiring, inquisitive, and resilient and resolute people. We will overcome. That I believe in totally. That's why I live in Kenya and not in London. I had the choice of London and elsewhere. That's why I live in Kenya.
Okay, a yes or no question. Would you run for office? Would you run for governor or?
Absolutely not, for a variety of reasons. None of them high standing and moral, but very practical. My Swahili is acceptable. My Kikuyu is a very much an acquired taste. And it's not the easiest thing to be a politician in Kenya if you are born and have refused you are born with and have refused to cure a stammer. So I would rather not get into that lion's den.
Okay. Any parting words? Anything that you can give us? Assuming this is session 1 of Ask John Anything, between now and the next session in a couple of months, any words of wisdom that you would want to leave us with? I
told you earlier that one of my favorite books is The Best and Brightest. I would rather humility and not give any words of wisdom to anybody. Go off and live your lives. Come on. All
right. And so, John, once again, well, you have to promise to come back in 6 months, because you just made a promise that all the projects that are being implemented now will pay off. Now we'll have to hold you to that you will come back and demonstrate how that's happening. And well, in another 5 or 6 months, I hope you can promise to come back. So this is session 1 of Ask John Anything. We'll invite you back in the next session.
Irene, I have a feminine type memory. I never said 6 months. I said a year. I don't forget.
Oh, yeah, but can we cut that to 6 months?
We will see.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm always grateful whenever you show up, because we leave wiser than we came in. And to Anne Gaita, my co-host today, thank you so much. She works for Regal Africa as a financial advisor. You can check that out. Our sponsor today was Abojani. Is Robert here? Robert of Abojani, are you here? Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, give a sentence or two on Abojani and where people can find you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining. So Abojani Investment, we deal with personal finance for individuals. We help you with financial planning and investment advisory. So thank you very much for joining, and you can find us on www.abojani.com.
All right, thank you, Robert. As you can see, we partner because that's the only way we get ahead. I think we are stronger together. And John, we'll let you go, and we look forward to having you next time. And to everyone else, please send me your email address for me to invite you to the next session with John and with many other speakers. You will get the invite on the flyer that I sent. I mean, my email address is on the flyer that I sent earlier today. If you're not on my emailing address list, you should add your name on my email so that I can see you, I can send you the invite for the next time. And until the next session next month, I hope you're taking care of yourselves and keeping safe. And I will say good night. And I can see a lot of people saying thank you to John. So John, be assured that a lot of people appreciated your session today. We'll say good night and see you next time.